Thank you once again for your question. Let me go straight ahead to your first question, which is on virtual machines, the core components, and how I can leverage virtualization in a business setting. Each time I talk about virtual machines, I like to talk about it in 4 different areas, which are the host machine, the hypervisor, the guest operating system, and the virtual hardware. The host machine is the physical computer that will provide the underlying resources for the virtual machines. In fact, almost all the resources that the virtual machines will use will ultimately come from the host machine, the physical computer. The physical computer will provide its CPU, its network adapters, its RAM, its storage capabilities to ensure that the virtual machines are running and efficient. The second component I like to talk about is the hypervisor. The hypervisor is at the core of virtualization. The hypervisor is the software layer that creates and manages the virtual machines. In fact, it is the hypervisor that will isolate the virtual machines to ensure that they run independent of each other. Assuming you have many virtual machines installed on a single host, it is the hypervisor, the underlying software layer, that will isolate these virtual machines. Also, the hypervisor allocates resources to virtual machines. It is the hypervisor, the software layer, that will allocate resources to these virtual machines to ensure that they run efficiently. So, but depending on the business setting, you can have different types of hypervisors. Hypervisor type 1, hypervisor type 2. Hypervisor type 1 is usually called the bare metal hypervisor. Examples include Hyper-V. Hypervisor type 2 examples include VirtualBox or even VMware Workstation. Hypervisor type 1 runs directly on the hardware, while hypervisor type 2 runs on the host operating system. Then the third part I like to talk about is the guest operating system, which could be Windows operating system, Linux, macOS, or even any other operating system. The good thing is that you can run many operating systems on a single host. That is the benefit of virtualization. The virtual machines will interact with these operating systems as they were, just like my physical computer is interacting with the operating system. The last component is the virtual hardware. These are not physical hardwares. These are virtual hardwares like virtual CPU, virtual RAM, virtual network adapters, virtual hard disk that will power the virtual machines that you created. So these are core components of the virtual machine. I've talked about the host machine, which is the physical computer. I have talked about the hypervisor, the software layer that creates and manages virtual machines. I've talked about operating systems. I also talked about virtual hardwares. Then, how can I leverage virtualization in a business setting? Well, virtualization has many benefits in a business setting. For instance, I can consolidate my servers using virtual machines. Instead of running different servers for every application, web server, email server, database, I can actually create different virtual machines on a single host to run these applications. What this does is that it saves cost. It also cuts down energy consumption and saves space as well. The space that will be occupied by these many servers, underutilized servers, will be saved by just creating many virtual machines and running these applications on each virtual machine on a single host. Also, virtualization empowers scalability. As the business grows or comes up with new products and services or expands to new areas, new locations, I can easily create virtual machines to handle each aspect of this business, new products, new locations. This reduces downtime, this ensures efficiency and effectiveness of the business process. Another area I like to talk about is the fact that virtualization encourages isolation. This is a security benefit. For instance, if an application has high security risk or requires tight access, I can install it in a virtual machine and isolate it, contain it. And if anything goes wrong, it will not spill over to other systems in the network. So these are benefits of virtualization in a business environment. Also, virtualization has this great benefit in business. You talk about business continuity and disaster recovery. Disaster could be flooding, it could be fire outbreak, it could be failure of the physical machine, the host machine. And because virtualization encourages replication of virtual machines even to the cloud or to other locations, if the host machine fails or if there is a disaster, I can easily recover my virtual machines on a different host. So this ensures that data is not lost, the business processes continue, and it saves costs and minimizes downtime. So another benefit is that in testing and development of softwares, virtualization has great benefit. I can create many virtual machines to test different operating systems, the different software configuration, and even software updates. And if anything goes wrong, it will not affect the production side. So these are many benefits of virtualization in a business setting which I can leverage. Then, to the second part of your question, the difference between server role and server feature. I like to talk about server role as the main purpose of the server, the service that the server can provide. This could include Active Directory domain services. This could include DNS, domain name services. This could include DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protect. This could include web servers. So these are the services that the server can provide, the main purpose of the server. Then when you talk about features of a server, these are just additional functionalities. They are not roles, but they are additional functionalities that ensures that the roles perform their different functions. Features could include group policy management tools. Features could include telnet clients. Features could include failover clustering. So these are features, they are not roles. Then how can I determine the roles and features that a server will need? The first thing I will do is to determine the business requirement. What actually will the server do in a business setting? So when I have determined the need of the server, the role of the need of the server, I will now assign role based on the requirements, the business requirement. Then after assigning the role, I will assign features based on the roles to support the roles. I will assign features to support the roles. Of course, as an administrator, I will pay attention to efficiency. I will pay attention to best practices. I will pay attention to security. I will make sure that I will not add unnecessary features to make sure that the server is clean, the server is stable and efficient and running. Then to the last aspect of your question, what is the primary purpose of Active Directory and what are the common tasks I can perform using Active Directory? Well, I can say that the common purpose, the main role of Active Directory is that it serves as a centralized authentication, authorization and management of users, computers, organizational units, even security policies within a domain. So that is what an Active Directory does. And the common task I can perform using Active Directory could mean creating user accounts, creating organizational units, and setting security policies, creating groups, and the rest of them. Also, because Active Directory organizes objects in logical ways, like users, like groups, like computers, like organizational units. It enables an administrator to easily assign security policies, control access, and standardize settings across the entire domain. So the Active Directory, instead of help managing each individual computer, it helps an administrator to manage it centrally. And these are some of the tasks you can perform, which I have just mentioned: setting password policies, security groups, joining computers to domains, or applying group policies and to enforce company-wide security settings. So these are the common tasks I can perform using Active Directory. So I have been able to attempt the 3 questions. Number 1, I've told you about the core components of virtual machines, which are the host machine, which are the hypervisor, the guest operating system, and then the virtual hardware. I've also talked about how I can leverage virtualization in a business setting in terms of security, isolation, testing and development, scalability, disaster recovery, and business continuity, and then server consolidation as well. This ensures efficiency, reducing costs, cutting down energy consumption. I also talked about the difference between server role and server features. The role of a server is the main purpose of a server. The services that the server can provide, which could be Active Directory domain services, DNS, DHCP, web servers. Then the features are additional functionalities to the server that will help the role, that will support the roles, which could include failover clustering, telnet clients, which could include Active Directory domain services. Then I've also talked about the main purpose of Active Directory domain services, that it serves as a centralized authentication and authorization and management of users, computers, and groups within a domain. So instead of managing computers and groups individually, an administrator can manage all this centrally, because it ensures that objects are arranged logically. So, and common tasks you can do with Active Directory: you can create user accounts, you can assign access policies, you can create organizational units, you can set passwords, and many other common tasks you can do. Thank you very much. These are my answers to your questions. Thank you.